Welcome to the Concept Art Show. I'm Tim, and this is Lamin. It's a show where we take a look at some of the images that are used in pop culture, some of the video games and movies that we like so much. And this time around, we're looking at Iron Siege by IDW Comics. It's a very cool story, one that you might not have heard of because it doesn't seem to have been promoted that much, but we're going to look at it today. But maybe just before we talk about this, Lamin, lots of things happening in concept art in Toronto this week. We had the Wizard World Comic Con, the Comic Con, not Comic Con, and as well we had your show at Oddly Studios. So maybe start us off with the Wizard World Comic Con. Now you were presenting some of your work there.
Yeah.
How did you find the show?
Well, I was exhibiting at Wizard World Comic Con, and it was bought by Wizard World. It was originally owned by Paradise.
Paradise.
Yeah, by Paradise. It's a comic store in Toronto. And after it was bought, the expectation that the show would be bigger was there, but actually sort of stayed the same. Yeah. There wasn't much change other than the name. So Wizard World is an okay show, but it's still up and coming. Even though it's been around for a while, it still feels like it's trying to find its way.
It's been around for quite a while. I remember doing the Paradise show back in like 2002. Yeah. And I went there and I did some video coverage of it. I talked to Matthew Mohammed. I talked to Claudio Setti there from Martian Factory. Yeah. I don't know. How did you find it, like, as a vendor being at the show?
Being at the show as a vendor is... At the Wizard World show, it's a little difficult because, like I was saying, the show still feels like it's trying to find its way, whether it's going to be something that's catered towards the culture of comics or a show that's catered towards the corporate money-making aspect of comics. It's like right in the middle, so if you're a vendor, you kind of get lost in between, and you're trying to figure out what can you do to get people interested in buying your products, because if you don't do comics, then people aren't really interested in seeing anything other than comic characters on your table. Right?
I had kind of wondered about that because just as a visitor to the show, I noticed that there were a number of tables set up that had the artist's name on them, but then the artist didn't show up. Yeah. They weren't there for the show. Yeah. I mean, I had a good time. And, it's kind of it's one of the few shows of that kind that are happening at that time. So it was kind of fun to go there. I saw some cool stuff coming up about Sucker Punch. It was a really good book of concept art that they had there that was amazing win, which was kind of neat. But it did seem a little bit sparse, compared to some of the other shows that happen. I guess most notably Fan Expo, we have to talk about that. Yeah. And I had wondered if that had something to do with it, because Fan Expo had a Anime Con happening on the same weekend. Yeah. And that made me think like maybe some people were drawn off towards that. So.
Yeah, that happens. Wizard World and Paradise, when Paradise was Paradise at the time, they've always had a rivalry. And
I remember reading stuff.
Yeah, there's tons of information online about this head-to-head combat that they have. And what Hobby Star would do, Hobby Star is the company that hosts Fan Expo. What Hobby Star would do is that they'd host a show either the weekend before or the weekend of a Paradise show, just to draw an audience away from them. So they had an anime show, I believe, on the same weekend.
They did.
Yeah, they did. So.
I'm not sure how it did, but I do know that this kind of fracturing can't be good for the industry in general. Yeah. And maybe it's not that great for the consumer either, because now you have to choose between what you're going to go to, when maybe you would have gone to both if you had the option to do it. Yeah. So.
Absolutely. Yeah. What ends up happening is people choose Hobby Star because they're just bigger. Yeah. Right.
Or make the other choice and do the free show at Oddly Studios. So let's talk about that. We have your concept artwork up now, which is, definitely classing up the place a little bit here.
It's dumb.
You had a great turnout yesterday. How did you find that show?
It was really cool because I got to meet a lot of artists who are up and coming too. And speaking with them, I remember back when I was going to a show and trying to learn from somebody else and asking questions, and it's weird being on this side of the fence now.
Yes.
I'm trying not to I remember when I was asking questions and I was listening to someone, or someone was listening to me, and I tried not to sound like a newbie.
Right.
And then I'm listening to other people doing the exact same thing to me now.
Yeah. It's good though, right?
Yeah.
Like, it's nice that people can come and talk firsthand with people working in the industry. And it's good for people in the industry too, because it keeps your enthusiasm up.
Yeah.
If you've been doing things for a while, it's easy to kind of like, you know, get a little bit into the habit, a routine, and sort of forget what brought you to it in the first place. And then you talk to these people that have all this enthusiasm, and you sort of get that back again, I find.
Yeah,
which is
absolutely.
nice.
And I'm surprised that just if I offer help, how eager they are to take it.
Yeah.
Because I'm used to guys having ego and not wanting help in illustration or.
I think we saw some of the same people here that were at the Wizard World Con. So that was kind of nice, you know, that they made the effort to come out and check this one out after seeing your stuff at that show. So it's kind of nice. Starts to build a little bit of community. So.
Yeah, absolutely. So I hope to see them more.
Concept art is definitely a community.
Yeah,
I think.
There absolutely is.
Yeah. So let's talk a little bit about Iron Siege here. Now I picked this up at Silver Snail. We have edition, the first and second issue out.
Number 2.
The third one is coming out in April.
Yeah.
So tell us a little bit about this one.
Well, I can talk about the artist because I like the art. Well, the cover artist for sure is Timothy Bradstreet. He's an amazing dude. He does a lot of Marvel stuff. He's done a bunch of Punisher covers that he's sort of famous for. I guess that's where he built his name. And his style is really gritty, really dark. There's lots of dark areas. Very graphic too, and very photorealistic.
Yeah.
As well.
It's interesting. Like lots of figures standing in shadow.
Yeah.
Kind of thing, and dramatic use of lighting. And I think it was very much the same with the Punisher. Yeah. So I think when you have this style that you're stressing, that you're going to be somewhat restricted in your subject matter. Yeah. Because that style isn't going to work for everything.
Yeah. Well, that's the thing. His covers are usually of figures standing, and they're staring at you or staring off to the side. He's not the kind of cover artist that'll get into really dynamic foreshortening poses.
Right.
He doesn't really do that type of thing.
Right, right.
But for what he does, this style is perfect.
Right.
Right.
So the premise behind the book, it's kind of interesting story. Basically, this takes place during World War II. Takes place during Nazi invasion time. Yeah. And so a group of American soldiers captures a group of Nazi soldiers, and they're transporting them, and they're set upon by zombies. That's going to spice things up right there. But it's pretty interesting. They take shelter in a castle, and there's like a group of French resistance fighters there as well. And so now they're all, kind of put into this mutual battle to survive. Yeah. And they sort of put the war on hold. Yeah. They're like, it's interesting. They actually decide they'll go back to the war when they've taken care of this more immediate problem. Yeah. So it really has a lot of interesting interplay between the characters and opportunity to really develop the characters quickly. And I think that type of subject matter, ideal for this type of artwork, and probably a very well chosen artist for the cover. Yeah. Did you want to talk a little bit about the interior artwork?
The interiors are done by Trevor Goring. And Trevor Goring he's a pretty established artist. He does a lot of portraiture work. But I don't really know a lot about him other than what I see in this comic and then some of his portraiture work online. Yeah. His style is really loose. It's really loose. There's he has a lot of sketchy, a real sketchy approach to his shading and hatching and cross hatching. Yeah. That I guess works for his style. His I don't know. He's an okay artist. His stuff is a little wonky when it comes to the actual anatomy of the figure. That I noticed that happens a lot in his panels. But I guess it works for the subject matter if it's a story about the zombie apocalypse or
Yeah, I mean, it is somewhat loose, but it's consistent.
Yeah.
The palettes, I think, are well chosen, and the dialogue is pretty crisp in this.
Yeah.
Which, you know, once you start getting sucked into the story, I find that the artwork doesn't pull you out of the story.
Yeah.
You stay inside of it quite nicely, which is obviously the intention of good artwork in a comic. It does, you know, you can see, for instance, in this figure, maybe the anatomy is seems a little bit off compared to some of the other artists that we would come across, but I don't find it disturbing enough to pull me out of this good story. Yeah,
exactly, because the storytelling is really what you're looking for when you're reading a comic anyway. So if he has flow from panel to panel and a bit of anatomy is off, it doesn't really matter, because really you're just going to look at the panel for the amount of time needed to read the text, glance at the image, and then move on.
So it makes me wonder why this book hasn't been promoted a little bit more. Like, I was looking around, I was trying to find stuff online about Iron Siege, and on the main IDW site, for instance, I didn't find any reference to it. We even looked inside of the directory of all of their properties, and it's not mentioned at all, which it seems unusual. And then as far as, you know, we looked at, is there a microsite for it or something like that? We found a couple of, you know, short reviews on independent sites, but nothing too much talking about this. So
maybe, I was thinking maybe it's just something that IDW put out to say that they have product that they could actually pitch to maybe a television studio or a movie company.
Maybe.
Because when you have or TV shows out now like The Walking Dead, which are zombie-based, and were originally comics, comic studios nowadays could easily just say, well, we'll just put out a couple issues just to say we have the property. And don't really have to promote it as long as it's packaged.
Makes sense. I mean, it feels different, doesn't it?
Yeah.
The paper itself feels a little different from the usual comics I'm picking up. It's like maybe a little bit thicker.
Yeah, it is actually.
And slightly different surface on it.
It's a little weird.
Which, you know, and I found this in kind of a side area at Silver Snail. Like, it wasn't in the main you know, shelf where they put all of the Marvel and DC stuff. So it was kind of a good find. As I'm actually liking the story, but of course the big danger is, do they finish the series? Right? Because with a lot of this type of experimental comics, they never really draw it to a conclusion. Or they finish it very rapidly because they kind of run out of funds for the thing. So I'm really hoping that doesn't happen with this one, because it's a nice subtle story that's happening, and I hope, you know, they give it enough time to develop it at a proper pace.
Plus World War II stories are just cool. Especially with the Sucker Punch coming up pretty soon. So.
Yes, can't wait for that, dude. Sucker Punch, I'm saying, greatest movie of all time, and if not, time is broken. I'm looking forward to it. Like that movie, it's like they went into my brain, sat around for a while, got comfortable, got used to everything, and then made a movie out of it.
Yeah, they started picking stuff first. Let's take a little of that.
This looks good.
That's pretty good there.
Sort of this and movie. I'm looking forward to it. Obviously. Out this week, I think.
Yes, I believe it is,
but no midnight screening. Suck with that.
Which is weird, because I would imagine people would be dressing up.
Probably.
It would be like a costume event, if anything.
Yeah, probably. That'll probably happen. That's how they were doing it at Comic-Con. To win the concept art book, you had to dress up as one of the characters.
Exactly.
I wasn't really going for it.
I was going to try it, but...
I mean, if I had time to put together a robot samurai with a big machine gun kind of thing, I'd do it, but... Yeah, I don't think that's what they're looking for anyway.
I was feeling kind of fat that day, so I didn't wear my dress.
A little bit bloated. So... On that note, I think we've covered off on Iron Siege pretty well. I would say if you can find it, go out and pick it up. It's a pretty good book. I think you'll enjoy it. That's it for this week. See you guys.